I'm trying to figure this out.
No, just keep the way it is. That's good. You're doing great, Christy. You're doing great.
There's a way you can go live, like
you live?
No one else can see it.
Yeah, I'm live. It says live.
I'm about to go in and say something. If you're live, I should be able to see it. Hold the phone. Let's see. It takes a minute for us to know that you're live. Hold on. Stay live for just a minute. Don't hang up. It's a delay when you do the live like that. Like for instance, okay, you're live. Don't move. I'm going to go to my other phone.
Oh, yeah, they're interested. They're interested, yeah, because it's free services. We can help them. When I come out here, and I was like, oh yeah, it's live. I can see it.
Look, I'm gonna hold it steady. And there's beautiful art.
Hold that for just a minute.
What's your name?
Janine.
Hi, Janine. I'm Christy.
Nice to meet you.
How'd you find out about this?
Oh, I just saw it on Rolanda's Facebook.
Hold that. We doing
I live down the street.
It's weird.
There's a lot of stuff that I can do that boil up.
Oh, there it is. Hold on. So now, Christy. So listen. All right. So now I see where you're live. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to request for you to bring me on. Now, see at the bottom of your page.
Yeah.
See like one of those little buttons. Yeah.
You've been
There you go. I'm going to click on it. You did that really good, Christy. Hold on. Let me say yes.
I click. There I go with y'all. You see me?
Yes! Hey, Rolanda.
Hi, family. After I get myself together up here with this thing. So that's how you do that. Except for now, hit that button that turns it around and looks at the panel. So now you're gonna have to adjust it. You may have to move back just a little bit, you know, so I can see all three of y'all. Christy, that's how that's done. I'm in the leaks office here.
What up?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go live. Oh, yeah, okay.
We good?
Wait, why are we
hearing that background noise? Yeah. Rolanda, there's background. Turn me off of my phone. Disconnect from my phone. The phone call you were on earlier.
Really?
You know the other phone that
Turn it off? Can you still hear it?
Do you have two phones on?
Yeah. Hold on. You can't turn one of them off, right? Hold on.
Take good care.
Hold on. Can you still hear it?
Oh, no, it's better.
I turned off the other.
Yeah, you sound jumbo.
It ain't on my end. I can hear that feedback. Hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna have to do something different. Can you hear feedback now?
No, I can't hear
feedback now.
It's my phone. So hold on. Give me a minute.
No, you're better now.
I know, but hold on, but I can't hear everything. Hold on. Let me get it.
Y'all
gotta be calm.
They're about to get out. Walk them right now. Bye. Everybody, we have technical difficulties when we go live.
I should have worked my other one. You know what I mean? I'm slow. Okay, hold on, family. wait a minute, Christy. So funny. Nobody knows that. They think, yeah, I can't really. Hold on, let me do this real quick and see. Christy, how does that sound?
Much better.
Much better.
How's it sound?
Yeah.
Christy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. To me, the talk.
Hello, welcome.
Oh, now it's echo.
What's going on?
Do you have an echo?
I think it's better. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear an echo, Christy?
Yeah, there's still an echo.
Can you hear it now?
You're sounding good. We're not sounding good.
There's something in there.
What needs to happen is
Come on.
If there's a way that we can hear Rolanda, bring this
Hold on, there's something in here.
You're hearing it back. But I don't know.
Because I turned off the other phone.
Somewhere else,
Rolanda, should we add you on our phone or something?
so that we can hear her.
Or maybe if we just turn it back up a little bit.
So that volume has to be so people can hear.
Please tell us what to do.
Okay, is this still? Because I can't hear. I'm good on my end, but y'all gotta talk so I know so I can hear.
All right, so what you want to talk about?
Okay, you know,
I'm talking about the weather. Hopefully it warms up a little bit. But so is this going there?
Yeah, it sounds good. But Krista, you have to move that camera back so I can see all three of y'all.
I'm not up there yet.
I'm trying to fix the camera.
It's still only like this.
No, I'm gonna sit right there.
Let's fix the phone.
Can you see me?
I can see you fine. Did you mute the sound on the phone?
Can you see me?
Yes.
So the problem is
on our side.
Yes.
Wait, maybe
turn it off your phone. It's the sound coming.
So the sound
coming from your iPad is delayed for some reason.
Yeah, it's always delayed on the iPad. Y'all don't get to see exactly what. I mean, it's delayed by like 30 seconds or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we can hear it. That's what's popping. So we should be able to hear it.
So I guess what we're trying to figure out is how it sounds. We have people go outside the door and listen to the video, and they can hear the delay.
The delay in talking. Okay. Let me think about that. Let's reset it. So do me a favor. Can you hear me?
You sound good.
Okay, you sound good too. However, people who are listening saying it ain't sounding right?
No. How do we sound for those that are listening and watching?
On my phone, you sound fine.
Now, you know, I listened to it from my laptop and it sounded fine.
Okay. I don't even hear them. Londa, when we're here, I don't hear us talking back here. So how do we turn this down here? It doesn't do that when we're doing it.
Yes, please. Yeah. What you say, Khadijah?
Right now,
when we're talking, so I can hear what I say. You just say it back to me.
That's the
It
feedback.
doesn't do that on Sunday, though.
None of the computers are on. We're not using any of the mics, right?
nope.
No.
Only
When we talk, there's a feedback.
Huh. Christy.
You want to
reset it and do it again?
Yes.
So,
Khadijah, can you say we'll be right back?
Yeah, close it out and just try it again.
Give me 1 second.
Or you know what? Hold on, Christy.
Yeah.
Christy, hold on, don't touch nothing. Khadijah.
Huh?
Call me on Facebook.
Okay.
Use the instant messenger and call me.
Okay.
You
look pretty. Right. I have no I'll call you.
Yeah, just call me via the Facebook app. Let me see something. Okay. Now, Christy, on that iPad is ringing, right?
Yeah.
Answer it and then cancel it. Christy?
Yes.
Do you still have the echo?
Yes.
We still got the echo? No worries. Now, Christy, use your phone and call my other cell phone number, that 916-417. Call that number right now. This happened to me once on an interview.
Wow.
Call my second number.
What's the number
again?
The first one you call, the first one you FaceTime me on 641 address.
641.
That's the line you call me on first when you FaceTime me. 916.
No, just tell me
the number. I don't know.
Hold on.
916.
First one that you IMO me on. Hold on. Yeah.
I don't know.
Hold on.
Well, we need to train that. That's it.
Hold on just a minute. Hold on. Don't worry about it, Christy. Hold on.
Call your 417 number.
Okay, I got it, Christy. How does it sound now? Y'all still got an echo?
I don't know. Let's see. The iPad.
We're going to turn the
iPad off. That's just don't use it. And hopefully, as long as they can still hear her, so we don't need to call. Unless we can hear her. Because this one, you got from her hearing us, right?
How do you do
mute? Hear her, right? We press mute.
Oh.
So we need to turn this down from the iPad. So that's what I'm saying. We might need to call her so we hear her whenever so you guys can hear her another way. But
so we're gonna
mute you off
and call you
from one of our cell phones.
Okay, I'm calling somebody right now. Khadijah.
Yeah.
Okay, tell them they can take me off and just go straight. No worries.
You take her off.
Yeah, because I want y'all to get this. And you can have me on your cell phone, please. My voice.
But I can't
look at comments.
Call my office landline and put that on the speaker and you'll have me.
Let me go get it.
It's on the floor. It's right behind that setup right there.
Christy.
Okay. Okay, wait.
Tamisa, talk.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear y'all perfectly.
Tamisa, sit down.
Christy, is y'all still hear the echo?
Tamisa, talk.
Tamisa, talk.
Just
Just talk regular. Hello, welcome. It's Friday, everybody. Hopefully you stay warm out here.
How does that sound?
Who has
Rolanda on speaker? Tamisa, you call Rolanda. My phone is dead.
What number do you want me to call you on?
Did you see on the floor? Does it have a dial tone?
What'd you say?
Just ask me, does that phone have a dial tone?
You calling Rolanda? Does that phone have a dial tone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call it.
She's gonna
call it. Khadijah, she's gonna call it.
She's gonna call you.
I'll call it right now.
Hello?
Khadijah?
Call again, Rolanda.
Okay, good.
Hello?
Hey, Khadijah, can you hear me?
Okay, yep.
Okay, so y'all can mute me, right?
Yes.
Yes, did that help?
Let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. But do we still have that feedback sound though? That's what I'm asking.
You guys have feedback? Hello?
It's still there.
I'm not gonna say the echo could be coming from someone else going on. That's what I'm saying. We can do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She on. There we go.
Do we hear feedback, you guys? No, I don't hear, but I'll go outside. Okay, we're gonna go check and see Rolanda.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll
be back. Rolanda. Bring it in, zoom it in some, yeah. Go back in where you just was at, Christy. Was perfect. Yeah, so we can touch at the top. That'd be great. You said your mics are on or not? They're not.
Right here? Is that fine?
I can't see the delay on here, so.
Rolanda, is that fine?
It's good. Steven says it's all good. It's all good for where I am too.
Okay. She's talking about the sound. Did you zoom in? I can't see.
I'm trying to go.
Oh man, here it don't look like it.
Zoom in, why?
Because you see the copy machine and everything behind you. You don't see this the back.
We don't see no copy machine.
No, from here. This is delayed though, so. See now it just shows you walking back over there. So.
Yeah, because I came in the video.
No, I'm saying that's how delayed it is. It just showed you walking back. Okay.
Yeah, so there's no feedback.
No feedback, so let's be ready to roll.
Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's perfect, Chrissy. Now I just caught up.
So we don't need these microphones.
Okay. Just fake the phone.
Yeah.
She said no.
Alrighty, Rolanda.
All right.
Let's go.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Earth Mama Healing.
Yes.
We are so sorry for the technical difficulties, but we are here with some wonderful and awesome people. I am here standing in for Rolanda. My name is Christy Ketchum. I am a community activist here in Sacramento and nation worldwide, and also the founder of the Sacramento Sister Circle. Gonna go to my left. Yes, hello everyone. My name is Tamisa Wash. I am the Anti-Trafficking Program Manager at WEAVE. Also on the leadership team of the Sacramento Sister Circle. Glad to be here today.
My name is Khadijah Wilkins. I am a community advocate. I also work with at-risk youth ages 19 to 12. I work with JSO juvenile sex offenders, and I also work with the CSEC community here in Sacramento.
So we are here to talk about our conversation, predators and co-conspirators serving devaluing culture on black girls and women. A lot of us have had a lot of conversations about the R. Kelly documentary. A lot of people have had a lot of feelings. A lot of people have been triggered greatly. And it has been apparent in our community for a long time. And so we wanted to have this conversation to open up a space for us to come together, particularly coming from black women. Oftentimes we are talked about, but we're not talked to, and we really wanted to create a space where we had some open and honest conversations about what we're feeling, what's going on, and also tap into a lot of the folks that are out there that follow not only Rolanda, but the Sacramento Sister Circle, myself, and other people and leaders in the Sacramento community. So, Tamisa works with WEAVE. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I just am grateful for this platform. And as you said, a lot has been triggering this week for both employees and even clients have connected closely with their advocates about the things that have been going on, because it definitely resembles exploitation. Straight, straight up, even as things have been in the media for quite some time about R. Kelly. I think initially there wasn't a sense or a sign of exploitation. After looking at it, it became more relevant and more clear that it is clearly exploitation. And today is Human Trafficking Awareness Day. So I'm wearing blue in solidarity of survivors. And it's just all of this, the media and the things surrounding it, it was just so prevalent at this moment. And I'm glad our voices are heard from us and not people talking about us and what we need.
Right. Absolutely.
It was heartbreaking to see it just out there, but I'm in the field, so I see it every day. And I'm glad that it was finally brought to light so people can see how sick it is and they can stop acting like, oh, he just likes younger girls. No, he's a predator. He's a perpetrator. His enablers are participants. They're not just enablers. So I'm glad it came to light, and it brought up emotions for me. And I'm not even a survivor of any type of sexual abuse or trafficking. It brought up just memories of people that I have worked with, and I've seen lives destroyed because of people like R. Kelly and his enablers and participants. So I'm glad it came on. And a lot of people were like, oh, why do you want to watch it? Well, we listen to his music, so why not watch it and get a little bit more story? So maybe you should watch it and you would stop defending this animal.
Right, exactly. I think also for me, and also in the documentary, it really highlighted the co-conspirators. And that could have been anybody. There could have been well-meaning people, but at the end of the day, black women and girls were definitely put in positions that they should not have been in, and behavior was actually co-signed. And so let's talk about, I want to talk about too, for me, it made me think about the R. Kellys in our communities and also in our families. And if we're honest with ourselves, we know that there is a lot of that going on in our community, in the black community. Molestation, prostitution, pimping, that is not something that we are unfamiliar with. We know it, we see it, it's in our music, it's in some of our styles. Like, how are we consumed with this co-conspirator, co-mingling of, like, this rape culture? That's what I call it. I call it rape culture. And why I say rape culture is because we're in a culture where it's okay to objectify young black women and girls. It's okay for us to be looked at as less than human. It's okay to call girls that are in their teens fast. It's just them fast-ass girls. Like, there's all this language around how we justify the dehumanization of black women and girls, and I want us to, like, talk about that, and I want Rolanda to go ahead and chime in on this as well.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So basically, I think this is, we definitely, first of all, anybody that watched it, or you heard me go going through this, please find somebody to talk to. I think one of the things that we leave out is the sacredness of girls and women and how we have to create the space mainly by the way we use our words when we're talking about this subject. Because I think the part about the co-conspirators is to hear people and there's a sense of behaviors that we may not be comfortable with. And so it makes it really hard for young girls and women to say when something happens to them, to share that and then feel validated and protected. You got to create the space for them because that is really important. These are our future mothers of the planet, caretakers of the planet. That they have to we owe them that. We do. We have to have this discussion. I know you have a live studio audience here. Definitely want to hear from them. But I think first and foremost, you have to make sure that the victims feel protected and safe because at the root of all of this, we can't victimize them again. They have to feel like we value them in our community and that they are protected.
And just to piggyback on that, Rolanda, I think we have to let it be known that it's not okay. We condone it, period. We act like it's okay. Like Christy said, oh, she fast or she dressed too provocative. We have to let it know, even to the perpetrators, that it's not going to be tolerated, period. Even to the enablers and participants, it's not going to be tolerated, period.
And because also I'm saying that they're being victim blamed. So when they're looking at that, well, maybe I shouldn't have wore this, or maybe I shouldn't have did this. No, it's not your fault, and you are not the ones who are creating the problems. We have to be able to talk about the predators, like straight up talking about what needs to happen. There are some sick things going on. Now, as we talked about even through the ACEs, it's some things all the way rooted within childhood. So we have to really get to the root of the problems. And unfortunately, these girls, they were preyed upon. Oh, okay, they have single parent parents, their moms are gone, let me find out what it is they're needing and I'm going to act as that father figure. All of these things are what led them to draw closer to, and then the exploitation, the isolation, being away from your families, the Stockholm syndrome where you are being brainwashed. All of these things play a role in that.
And the major factor in it is power and control. Yeah, and that's what he wants, power and control. And if you look at the R. Kelly thing, even if you're not familiar with any type of sexual exploitation, if you look at it, you would see if they talk about he was young, he was the nerdy one, and nobody liked him. It was about power and control for him, and he was quiet. So it's about power and control, and that's exactly what these men want over these young ladies and young boys. But right now we're focusing on the ladies, but it happens to men as well. People leave their young boys with people, and right now, people think predators don't have a specific look. They don't have a specific occupation. They could be your community activist. They could be your choir director. They could be your school teacher. They could be the librarian. They could be the school bus driver. They could be the middleman. They could be the lady next door that brings buy all the kids popsicles.
Could be your daddy.
There you go. Could be your uncle. You know. So I mean, when we were younger, it'd be like, oh, don't walk past Mr. So-and-so house. He's a little strange. We would call it out. We do to stay away from him. But now we act like it's okay that he's a pervert and he's hanging out around the high school. That's too much for me.
And that was a known fact. And I know, I don't live in Chicago. I love to go there to visit, but I've definitely heard the rumors, and we've heard the rumors all around the world, right? So I guess my question for us to address is, what can we do outside of listen to the rumors and pay attention and kind of protect our own spaces? What can we do in this moment as we are highlighted as Black women and girls? One of the things that has been frustrating about this is that, when we're talking about Black women and girls, that's who have been vastly affected by, the surviving R. Kelly. We always want to go like, well, the boys were, they were raped, and he was raped, and his brother was raped, and his sister did it, and like it always in my mind comes back to negativity towards Black women, right? And the mothers, right? It always coming back to like, well, what their parents do and all these different things, and we're not thinking about how we all contribute to this environment, right? But then the number two thing is that
sometimes
why is this okay? And that's sometimes.
I'm gonna say because we don't all I agree with you. We do sometimes promote it and don't even know that we're promoting it. To be honest with you, I see little girls with half shirts on, like bikinis on, and just very sexualized at 2-3 years old. So I can get that point. We contributed without knowing it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
or
it's
making
conscious
it seem
and
like it's okay.
unconscious.
I get that. Yeah.
Yes.
I get that.
Yeah.
So what can we do in a community effort to change from just hearing and listening to the rumors to doing something action stepwise?
I think, Christy, if I could chime in, I think we just got to open our eyes and pay attention. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it is about open your eyes and pay attention, and don't be afraid when you see behavior that's questionable.
Call it out.
You see people doing stuff like the guy at the Aretha Franklin funeral groping the girl. The whole world.
The pastor, yeah.
We knew that was inappropriate, but nobody said anything that we know of to him even afterwards. That's a behavior. It's not about somebody taking you and raping you in the alley. I mean, it's a behavior. That's what a culture means. We do it like it's the norm. It's acceptable.
And some of the
Open our eyes and pay attention. That's what I mean. And say something. And don't care what people think. It is isolating when you pull out the predator in your family. That's very isolating.
Yeah.
We have a couple of comments and some from our studio audience. But DDoS is a lot of people were taught what happens in the house stays in the house. People have to get out of that mentality because it doesn't stay in the house because they re-offend. And April Michelle Jean says, peace, queens, peace. And yeah, Danielle said, yep, power and control.
Yeah.
And what I've seen in talking with women is that something could happen, but you kind of go in that fight-flight state where you know it's not right, but you don't know what to say, or that fear of being judged, or it could happen, and then you're reporting it maybe 2-3 months later because you didn't know how to process that.
Right.
You may have seen that in your family, and you are just uncomfortable and not knowing what to say. So one of the calls to action or things I would say is, let's talk to our girls about how to go about that. Your body is your body, but how to have that conversation, even in being uncomfortable. Like, let's begin to talk about ways of safety planning, but also who's your support systems. What are some things you may have been in comfortable situations? And sometimes when it's people of power and leadership or whatever, you're like, I don't know what to say because I don't want to hurt them. With R. Kelly, like, I don't want to hurt his career and all of these things,
Right.
but we're worth it and we matter. And so I just think sometimes understanding how to navigate that is something we can probably touch upon among sisters.
Well, it is, man.
You gonna say something, Wanda?
Let me ask you this question, the sister in the middle starts. What will we do if in town we had that situation going right now? What would you tell those women or women to do?
If we had a house full of women right now that were
And so we know
Okay.
if we had women or a woman who is having, if we had that situation in our own backyard, right now we are in that.
and I'm pretty sure we do.
What we have the person do?
Yes, that's a good.
I would encourage them to get out, and I would do all the things that she just stated. But that's a question for you. But
So we just had a case here in Sacramento where a girl was attempting, what was communicated was that she was attempting to leave a domestic violence relationship, and she was killed. That happened 3 days ago. I'm sorry. And her name was Deja. So rest in peace, Deja. And it's a very unfortunate situation where you can be killed. Like, we know this. Violence against women happens all the time. Like, all the times. And I always talk about, like, the fact that, like, we sometimes don't feel safe in our homes, but, like, even when we walk outside the door, we don't feel safe, right? So we have to make sure we're wearing the right clothes. We have to make sure we do whatever we need to do before it gets too dark. We have to make sure it's well lit. Like, these are all things that we have to worry about and be concerned about. And I think when we think about women that are lower income and don't have the means to do some things, what kind of positions are they being put in? And so then when Rolando, you asked the question about, like, what if it's happening locally, like, how are we prepared to respond to help and support the victims when these things happen, when they say something, and what has been your experience working with the survivors that you've been working with?
Yeah, so with the case Deja this week, you know, we said initially we needed to do something that was going to make a statement. So we had someone go out to educate about domestic violence in the Black community, but knowing that our agency is is serving of people of color, especially black people. Now me along with other staff, black women at Weave, have started the Maroon Space. This is a space specifically for black women, and to talk about these issues that are coming up, even as for us as practitioners, things that have continued to proceed in the work that we're doing. So for me, being able individually to educate clients who call, but then those who do call, educating them, and then those who don't call, going and do the outreach. Finding out from our sisters in the community, where do you see that there's gaps? And us going out, because people are not going to call due to some of the things that I mentioned. So when we do get a chance and an opportunity to connect, then we can do that directly. But if not, then what we can do is find the places we need to do outreach. We also have a partnership with the Sacramento City Unified School District, and having that advocate who's on my team, she's able to connect at the school district level, and by that she's able to share, okay, these are some of the gaps I'm seeing in the school district. And with our team, we have adult advocates who work specifically with adults who've been exploited, youth who've been exploited, and we are now in different outstationed at different areas, at the hospital, working with those who've been exploited, at the school district, and outstationed at CPS. So I feel like we have to be present in places that normally we're not present, that people don't see us. So they might need help, but if they're not seeing faces that look like them, they're not going to say anything.
And we have to remember, if we're looking about, if we're not victims of them and we're looking at it and we're seeing it and we're traumatized, imagine people that are going through that, the trauma that they're experiencing, and how hard it is to not know that this is okay. You get conditioned to think that it's okay. It's hard to leave. It's hard to break that cycle. Like you mentioned, Deja, they said she had been trying numerous times and she was trying to hold it together. It's easy to judge and say, oh, you know, get out of it. It's hard to leave a very traumatic, if this black person to feed you, to clothe you, where your kids gonna go. My kids don't go in the system. You know, it's a lot of stuff that people don't want to come out, but if we make it where they feel it's okay and we got their back and we're not going to judge them on it, more people will come forward with it. And I can tell you what I've done personally. You know, we had some girls in one of my programs at AWOL from their group home, and we found out where the house was. We sent the police there, and we staked out the front of the house all day long till the police got there, but they didn't want to respond because they were black girls. So we waited out front, because if they left, we was going to follow them. So we go right to the problem, because if somebody would have kicked in that door and got them girls out, I'm just saying, sometimes we got to go to the root of the problem. We got to start with the outreach and try to reach them, but if we know what's happening and we know Mr. Johnny is a pervert, step to Mr. Johnny and call him on it.
Well, I think we've been also asking, like, where are our black men at, right? Where do they stand? Like, I personally am not asking them to come and do much for me. I'm gonna just be honest. But I will say this.
It would be nice.
It would be great. And I do have, like, wonderful, supportive black men, family members. I have a dad that's great. You know, I have uncles, and I grew up that way. So it's really hard for me to see other men not act in that accordance, but I also know that some men were raised differently or whatever their issues are, right? So we can't look at them as to come to our rescue. But I guess the question is, what is our expectation for the men that are in our lives to make sure that they are at least in line with making sure that protection and safety and, like, even the conversations they have with each other, that they're coming from a place of support for black women and girls?
I'm going to give y'all some time to think about that while I read some comments. That's a good question.
Okay.
Tina McClain said, I think we need to get back to basics in the community. We should really get back to the concept of it takes a village. If you see someone's child or see some disturbing behaviors, adults should intervene instead of turning a blind eye. Stacy says, yes, thank you, ladies. Tina also says, I believe the victims instead of victims shaming, and also stopping the self-righteous behavior that keeps victims from speaking out. Erica Newman-Leak says, I think girls and women need to be taught explicitly what the early signs are and what to do when they arise. And Stacy, Kim Smith-Hine says, yes, you should step to Mr. Johnny. Stacy, and Kim's spicy. Stacy says, men need to get each other, though. Our boys and men of color work should prioritize this work and commit to dismantling toxic masculinity. And I can say we were at the vigil for Deja this week, and I was really proud of the brother stepping up because he kind of silenced the women for a minute and he addressed the men in the community, and that's my community. I live on that block. So when he addressed it, I felt it, and I felt we have men in our community that do care. They just don't get the recognition. So I don't really know how to answer that question because I don't allow men in my circle who don't already come with that. So I have a hard way I don't even know how to answer that because if you look like a weakling to me, if I could boss you around and you ain't standing up and you was sucking, you can't do nothing for me. So I don't know men in my surroundings that don't love and protect the black woman. I don't surround myself with those that don't.
And then I feel like adding to that, like knowing to educate them if the terminology is not right, being able to check it immediately, like, you know, I know this is what you're saying, but let me tell you how this degrades women, or let me tell you this, because I have some amazing men in my family. I have a lot of males in my family and male friends, and you know, being able to change the language, and by doing so, you know, like, oh, I didn't know that. Me personally understanding that there's more than one type of domestic violence. Most times, most people can relate to physical, but there are 6 types of domestic violence, from physical to emotional to spiritual to financial. And so when I've talked to men, they're like, and we give examples, they're like, wow, like I thought I was a beautiful man, like I never hit a woman. But then when we talked about other forms of domestic violence, then they're saying, wow, thank you for letting me know. I need to work on that for myself. And then I did a presentation at church, and it was a woman that said, okay, first I thought it was some things my husband was doing, but I started realizing I was the cause of the domestic violence. I was doing these things. So I think when you don't know certain things, you just move in a certain way because you're moving how you've been taught within your family or what you've seen. So I think really us having more education around what domestic looks like, and being able to check the men in our lives and the females about the terminology and the language and the ways we talk to one another.
Yeah, so let's talk about these steps. What are the steps? Like, what are the steps that, like, maybe we all want to take to try to make a difference? So I think one thing is, like, I'm actually very happy that people watch Surviving Kelly, and I feel comfortable to respond even when they're giving support to R. Kelly. It's been very enlightening for me to hear those responses because I know where people are coming from, and I think we have to meet people where they are at. And so we have to hear, you know, I don't like it, I totally disagree, but when you're telling me, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter what R. Kelly does, I'm always going to be his fan, I'm always going to support him.
I'm cool with that. I got to go and cut you out, though.
That's what you definitely have to do. But I want to know who those people are. I think, Rolanda, you posted something that was really good. It's like, you know, watch who are making these comments about R. Kelly, and then make sure you keep your kids away from them, or make sure that you remove them from around your environment. I think those are just 2 things that you can do that everybody can actually do.
We have a couple that answered before you even asked the question. D-Dot said first step is to love yourself, and Erica said it would help too if parents would assertively limit some of the overly sexual abusive lyrics that kids, particularly very young kids, are listening to, repeating and dancing to. It becomes a part of them. And I agree wholeheartedly. I don't even listen to the radio because those lyrics, even for not even to entice the girls, if the boys are hearing continuously bitch, 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 pump it, every song is about drugs and sex.
Yes.
Every song, just about every song on the radio, I should say. The secular radio is about drugs and sex. The way they talk, like you said, language, the verbiage they use for women is so degrading and horrible. And the girls are dancing to it too. That's how some of them are so susceptible to it because they hear it's ingrained in them that you are that bitch, you are that ratchet. That the only thing you can get is that kind of person. I'm supposed to be able to pee on you. That's people. They think that's part of what I deserve. This means he loves me. This music makes kids crazy. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Erica. I really do.
Rolanda?
Yes, ma'am.
What were some of the responses to that post that you received, that you posted about?
You know what? I got a lot of support. That post that take a mental note. First of all, it came from a young mother who's the mother of 2 twin children. Absolutely beautiful. Very buddy. She said, make a mental note of everyone that's supporting R. Kelly and keep your kids away from them. And I had over 500 shares. People who read that. And I think it's very telling. What all you guys saying is diddle, 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 diddle. I just know the most
participants.
There was a lot of women who was like, I'm always going to listen to his music.
Yep.
He just did a show in Chicago that was sold out.
They try to tear down the
Sold out.
That's like their gifting. That ain't got to do with white people.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with white supremacy, none of that. It has nothing to do with it. And I think we got to stop trying to say any and every old black man, and then we throw the women, you know,
At the sacrifice of us.
Yes.
Gotta stop doing that as black women, because our girls learn that from watching us.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, like, we sometimes feel like we need to save him. I don't know what it is. Like, you know, I need to make sure I help him along the way. No, he needs to court you. It's not like we need to make sure we meet him halfway. It's some of the values I think we need to let them know they are queen and that they need to be treated as such. Yeah, that's
So I think we're definitely preaching to.
We start to understand that everybody's not a brother. So you can't pull out the black card when this is not about white supremacy. This is a predator who is in our community, who's in our same skin, you know, being predators in our community. So you don't get to pull out, you know, we got to save each other, we got to fight other people. Like, this is not about that.
And absolutely, and I don't think any of us up here use that white card today because we know that's some bull crap. And I'm so tired of all these posts where they showing Bill Cosby only one locked up. They show all these white men they locked up. Well, shit, we know that. Like, tell us something that don't mean they not a damn predator. So I'm tired of hearing about that.
We shouldn't be rating ourselves
off of them, but
based on what mediocre, horrible white colonizers and abusers.
But we do though.
Why are
in reality,
putting
we do.
ourselves on that same
In
barometer?
reality, we do
where we need to be.
In reality, we do, and that's why you look at Facebook, Instagram. They got all these different people that did all these sexual charges, and all white people. And then they show the one black person that arrested. Like, it's okay that he did it. You know, it's okay that he did it, but only, you know, he shouldn't have got arrested because he's black. But it's never mind all his victims. You know, R. Kelly, never mind his victims, but he's black, so we got to save him. Hell no.
No, we don't.
You know, no, we don't. And I agree with you, Rolanda. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We have a couple of comments on here.
Well, can we say this comment? I wanted to say, as you were, well, we can all talk about this, and definitely people in our studio audience, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to post on it on our live, and we'll definitely address it. But there's also was some posts by men, and there was a post by a leader here in Sacramento that said that we got bigger issues to focus on than R. Kelly.
So let me ask you, that leader, are you continuing to support and back anything that he's doing? And have you called it? Did you address him?
So this is a bigger issue because this person gets funding. They have programs that work with our young people. We can call them out all day long, but how do we change?
By calling him out first.
Okay, but how do we make sure he doesn't use our taxpayer money?
By calling him out so people can know exactly who he is. He might still get that funding because remember, people make money off of our defects and our problems.
That's true.
So they want us to continue to have this sex trafficking issue. They want us to continue to have these broken homes. They make money off of all of our damn defects. So he's going to continue to get that funding. I know you're talking about, and I believe a lot of things that he do is promoted to get the community enticed so they can prove that they need his program and funding. So I'm not going to go there right now.
I'll go there.
Yeah, but I say call people the hell out. We have got to call them out. Because we're right now, when you say what we're doing, we're enabling. If you know somebody ain't doing shit right, we're enabling. I'm not a participant. So if I know who you are, I'm calling you out. Period.
Well, the person that posted that post, his name was Dale Roberts, and he has a family development center and works very closely with a lot of low-income black families and black single women and their children in this community. Like, how are we going to make sure that after you make a post of this such, that there is some action around that? Like, let's keep it 100. We have a real life example right here in our community. I called it out. I put your name out there. There's been some responses, but how are we going to make sure that he knows, and he already knows, he knows that behavior is unacceptable. But how are we going to make sure that we get these R. Kellys in our community? Because
the first step we did right now was calling him out.
Okay.
So now the people in his immediate environment need to continue to call him out. Because I don't know him directly communicate, but I wouldn't mind meeting with you, asking you what did you mean by that post. And I wouldn't mind having that discussion. I wouldn't even mind inviting you here to talk about it. This ain't my program, but I know Rolanda wouldn't mind. But I think we need to address it. This is the first step, Christy. We have to stop turning a blind eye, or because it's a community leader or somebody that we look up to. This is like
and interpret what we think they meant.
That's why I want to invite you here. Maybe we taking it wrong, but I'm gonna tell you, it don't sound right. I don't know what you meant by it. It didn't sound right. It don't sit right. It wasn't received right. Let's get with it now. Right. But I would invite you out, and if anybody that knows them, if y'all can pass it along, or let me just tag them in it, and then maybe. You know, because I don't want to be talking. I want to be real with our community. Yeah, you know, we talking about being active. We really active in these streets. So we want to go ahead and make sure we clear on what it is. We don't want to put nothing out there about
people have revealed themselves, right? So even if we don't have interactions with them, you've been revealed. I also wanted to share that there's been several victims that have reached out to me, and there was a victim here in the studio audience, but she was not able to participate, which I really wanted her to be on this panel because. Like the experiences that she's had right here in Sacramento in regards to being sold as a child. She was prostituted all up and down Sacramento and other surrounding areas. She was in the foster care system where she continued to be exploited, and there were some issues in that. That's another, I think, very important point to make is that a lot of young women have been in the foster care system. So when we talk about parents, well, who are the parents in that case? Because they don't have parents. They don't have people that are giving them the moral, integral, like, upbringing and the support and the love and the care that they need in order to be, when you're a part of your ward of the state. So, like, what are we going to, like, what are our thoughts about, like, providing this village? We could talk about the village. I think the village is great, right? And I think I had that as a person. But, like, what are we going to do about all these different components and things that are going on that are contributing to this greater problem?
I think some of the things we do, because I do work in group homes as well, is like bring in educators like the sister next to me and people, because these kids, they're not, like you said, don't have direct parents in the home. It's a group home setting, or they may be at the Sacramento receiving home where they just land all in the living room. That's one of the biggest hubs.
And right down the street from the Hostro.
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the biggest places to come. They get them kids like a revolving door in there. The staff here don't give a damn. I call everybody out. But we have to continue to educate those girls and create environments where, like, I'm sure they on Facebook, and I tag someone here, to watch it so they can know that it's okay to come out and say something, but we have to let them know the resources are available. Like, some black girls don't think weave was for black girls. Yeah. Anything you see weave stuff on the side of the bus, it's usually not a black girl on there. So I'm glad that you're here. They're like, wow. When the sister came out to the visual Wednesday, it was a black woman, and people were looking at her. We don't see us. People don't come. They don't come like we have resources. So I think to reach some of them that are in the foster care system, make sure they have resources, education, and maybe some of these organizations that are group homes, contact them and offer your services for education. They allow a lot of free training to their staff and their clients.
Right. And we have reached out to do presentations at the group homes, and now about 2 months now we've been doing a group at CRH.
Good.
Me and another staff. Children's Receiving Home. Because there was an increase in sexual assaults. And so this is how that group started. And we go and have this group for an hour, hour and a half. And it was just, a testimony is that when we went, we saw a black girl who was actually about to leave. And then she said, oh, I barely see, because it was me and another staff who's black. We barely see black women. Are you coming here for a group? I said, yeah. She said, well, I guess it's a win-win today. I'm staying because I don't see black women all the time.
I'm telling you.
So just the little things we have to look at as success. And she was a person who, as the word, frequent AWOLs, always leaving. And the campus said, wow, that just changed. And it was just because of your presence being there. And we started to engage in activities. It wasn't about, this group is not about talking about their traumas. It's about getting to know them. What do you need? How can I support you? And allowing us to help them navigate what they need to be safe, to be healthy, and to be loved. When I was there, we started talking about self-love, and one of the activists in the community, Anita Ross, I have her book, Meantime Love, and is really focusing about self-love. And I began to talk to the girls about self-love, and many of them said, Teresa, I don't think I have it. And to know at that age they don't have self-love. And so I said, would you be interested in her book? Would you be interested? I know her. Would you be interested in a signed copy? And Anita was right on it. And I got them books, and they were so excited because I followed through. I was consistent, and there was really a book about self-love. And so it's the little things and the little steps, but asking them what they need, and they have been able to tell us in that 1 hour and a half that we meet once a week.
And I bet you they treasure that time.
They really do.
I'm telling you,
of course, when we bring some food, it's all good.
Oh, well, yeah, you gotta feed them. You gotta feed them. But I mean, working in that field, working in that field, they really, most of the therapists that sometimes they contract out are usually not black women. You know, most of the psychiatrists are usually not black women. Most people that run most of the child advocates, most of the CASA workers, they're usually not black women. Yeah. So when they see a black woman, we can save a lot just by being present.
Right.
Just by being present. Okay, yeah. I'm about to right now. Kimberly Willis says, how you carry yourself is what you attract. Sybil Torrance said, exactly, D-Dot. There are many black men and women who do not love themselves. They then find themselves accepting or condoning behavior that is detrimental to their mental and psychological health. That's true. April Michelle said, posted this earlier in the live stream, but it's important for us to understand our legacy of trauma. The perpetrator/victim relationship is as Eurocentric as apple pie.
That's right.
We have to unpack the impacts of generational trauma and how it's affected the black family. Then we can address the other intersections. But in the meantime, we got to call it out. Because I'm not going to go back to the, Eurocentric, because we've been here a long time. We know they're the beast. We know white. Some of them are very savage. We got to stop going back to that white people made us do it. Talk. We got to stop that. We know that shit's wrong. We know following somebody. We know why people, and some of them are very disgusting, most of them. But we got to stop blaming them for what we're doing. Period. Sorry. Second, D-Dot says, second step, believe people when they show you who they are.
That's right.
Kim Smith says, any dude tries to pee on me, we have a serious problem. But yes, I agree with the lyric situation. That's why you have to be 100% real and upfront with your daughters. I will have it. I will have it on, and in the commercials be like, I swear to God, if you think for 1 second you will be exposed, but you will have to step ahead and keep your eyes open and teach your children to recognize and look out for the girl who doesn't have someone in their corner. It takes a village. And Tina says, there's some ideas to address these so-called leaders doing in actions, writing letters, delegations, etc. I agree, Tina. We got a lot of comments. April says, facts, everyone doesn't have a village. In many cases, the parent is the perpetrator. So true. So true. Stacy says, we have to also remember a complex problem can't be solved in simple ways. Must be multi-level narratives and systems change, school-based and community-based education, resources, and individualized responses and relationships with each other, individualized healing. April says, CPS and the I don't know that word, of the children's welfare system is extreme arrest of the children's welfare system is extremely problematic as it concerns issues related to black children. That's a topic for another day, though. And D-Dot said, Mr. Roberts, can you please explain your logic explaining your R. Kelly comment?
Yes. Please
We're waiting. Danielle says, self-love is needed and key in our community. It is important to know it's not sufficient to protect us from physical and sexual abuse. When your boss sexually harasses you, it's not because you don't love yourself, it's because they are a predator.
That's
so
right.
true.
That's right.
Wow, that's good.
That was a lot of information.
Yes.
Right there.
I wanted to go back to, there was one that I think April brought up. It was about generational trauma.
I'll go back to it right here.
I think that's really important to actually talk about, because the fact of the matter is sometimes these young women that are dealing with, the R. Kellys and also having, situations where they've been victimized by crime and violence, their mothers and their grandmothers have also dealt with some of these things as well. And so how do you actually stop the cycle of abuse that is being normalized in your lives?
We're going to need the microphones. Church starting up, y'all.
Like, that's a good question. Like, how are we going to deal with that? And then I'll get
Start by loving, teaching our, start by loving our daughters and, like she said, educating them. And then being honest with our daughters too, Christy, because sometimes mothers don't even want to tell their children that they were victims of sexual assault.
And I was about to say, if you're a grandparent and alive, if you have that gift, be able to ask those questions. I really, with the Sister Circle, we had courageous conversations with our mothers, and I asked my mom, have you ever been molested, or because I don't think these are conversations, or have you ever felt uncomfortable? And we were able to just be open and honest about that, but I don't know if those conversations just come out authentically and naturally without asking. So be able to ask those questions to your family members and see if you're, you know, to begin that narrative, and then you have your own history in how you're gonna to guide yourself and how you're gonna walk.
Because I know it's difficult to probably share some of your traumas with your daughters, but it could save their life. It really
Your
could.
daughters,
your daughters,
nieces,
your sons, anybody.
yeah,
You know, it could save their life, but sometimes we don't, that hurt. We don't want to bring it back up. We don't think it could happen to our child. We think we're doing all we can. Yeah. I think we're doing all we can to protect them. At the vigil, I'm going to go back to Deja again. It broke my heart to hear her grandmother and mother say, I tried, I failed my baby, I couldn't protect her. They had done all that they can do, you know. So I think if we share, you know, they try so hard, we share with our daughters the trauma that we've experienced, if we've experienced it. That's how we can maybe start to help the generational, you know. But yeah, it's definitely a concern.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, you know, displaying that at all. I just, sometimes we always want to throw Eurocentric, and I get it. I get they traumatize our people. A lot of our actions and movements come from what we learned from them. I get it. But at some point, we have to be accountable and responsible, because at some point we know. Yeah. R. Kelly, he knew he didn't like being molested. I had a boy in my JSO program who wasn't even a sex offender yet. He was a victim. He came there because he didn't want to become a sex offender. So he asked, could he please go to a program? So there are ways to stop it when you're young. I think he was like 11. An 11-year-old wanted to come to a JSO program to get help because he was afraid.
Yeah, and I think that's important to like, I like the work that you do, Tamisa, with like telling resources. I mean, I know you probably don't want to get into the whole story, but like most of the time when people go to like places like Weave and other places, they're not a lot of people that look like us. And you know, sometimes your abuse is not your first issue, right? So your abuse is like number 5 out of all the other priorities that are going on in your life. And so it's like, yeah, I'm being abused, but I can't, I'm thinking about how I'm going to eat, how I'm going to sleep, where, like, all these things that are like basic human needs. And I also feel like just the dehumanization that is present in all these conversations that we're talking about. Like, yes, self-worth, but what we deserve to be able to get, to be able to provide, have been provided our basic needs. Like the question of like the fact that like somebody is providing my housing and somebody is giving me money for food. Like these are all things that are a part of self-preservation in a lot of ways, and like that makes it a little bit easier for this to be this cycle, for this violence and for this dehumanization to happen when your basic needs are not being met.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Acceptable anything.
So it like really puts us, and then think about if you're a child in that situation, right? What if you are also, like there's so many different variables that I don't think we talk about. I think we come from a place of privilege oftentimes. And I know that I was blessed to have a mother that was very clear. She was like, if anybody ever puts their hands on you, I'm going to kill them. You better tell me. And then like, it might have turned me off a little because I'm so young, right? Yeah. So they're telling us things at these young ages, like you better do this, and they're not supposed to touch you. And I remember it, and then I think at some point I got it, right? Like you get it, but then at the same time, like how are we addressing this issue where we're where your children feel like comfortable to talk to you, where you feel comfortable to talk about like the things that are happening in your life? I know my mother was a victim of domestic violence. She never will call herself a domestic violence. She was a survivor of domestic violence. She thinks that they were, you know, like she'll say like, I didn't just sit there and take it, like I fought back. But that doesn't change the fact that you are a part of a domestic violence situation. And it doesn't change the fact that your daughter saw that happening to you, right? And so there were some conscious conversations that we had to have as a mother and daughter, like, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I'm like this, you know, and this actually had an effect on me in my childhood. But these are often conversations that we're not having openly. And I feel like it also helps, it makes some of this dysfunctional behavior continue because we're not actually having honest and real conversations with ourselves, let alone our children and the people that are around us.
I'm going to read a couple of comments. April says, thanks, Christine, for clarifying my point was to not blame white folks, but generational cycles are real and the effects are ever present. We have not historically discussed these issues with our children. Some of us have not. We have to stop talking in general. Not everybody. Some of us have not. We don't understand how we got here. We can't plan for the future. We have to tell the whole story, not part of it. I agree.
Yes.
Sophie said we have to tell our children. And if we truly want to be real with ourselves, the fact that R. Kelly was abused as an interesting dynamic to his behavior and how that behavior has manifested through his actions as an adult. I guarantee you the person that abused him was also abused, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That's a generational cycle, or as Ayala says, it's family pathology.
I want to chime in real quick on
Go ahead.
So, you have cancer, right?
Speak up a little bit more for us, Wanda.
Huh?
Speak up for us some, because we can't hear you because of church.
Okay. Oh, shoot. Oh.
We can hear you, they can hear you, but we can't inside the studio. Speak up a little louder for us.
Okay, now first, I want to tell y'all now. But I also say, if you have cancer in your body, do you find basic cancer, or do you cut the cancer off?
Cut.
Now, I think at some point, we have to say, okay, or say that you were going to, at some point, accountability has to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Right.
It has to start somewhere, and I think we got to start including that in. And not say, I get to see about generational trauma, I really get that.
Yeah, me too.
But we're also human having an experience. You know what I mean? And at some point, you have to have accountability. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think we also have to be conscious of our decisions and our choices. Like, we have to be clear about what we're participating in, taking our responsibility in that as well. It's like some of these, for instance, in the documentary, some of the decisions and choices of the parents
Yes,
of the victim
ma'am.
were questionable.
Mhm.
I'm not going to take away from that. That doesn't take away from the fact that R. Kelly should not be doing the things that he's doing to black women and girls. But at the same time, like, I'm if you're known with talking to young women and talking to them and being with them sexually, and you have a preference for young women and girls, like, I am not going to allow my child to go with you. I don't even care. I'm not even flattered if you put her on the stage. Like, nah, she can't go. Like,
That's
no.
called pimping your daughter
And
out.
first of all,
That's
she
all
ain't
it
going
is.
to that concert because
At
I
all.
don't even think
Period.
that's
At all.
appropriate, right? So
Pimping
there's
your
a
daughter
lot
out.
of things that I think that have been socialized as okay and normal. We're going to have to stop that as well. So if we're
Yes.
going to talk about a step, then that needs to be a step.
Come on.
You know, we talked about music. We talked about, like, some of these other things that our children and even we are susceptible to, right? We're going to have to cut some of that stuff
We have
off.
a comment from Daryl Roberts.
Okay.
He's replying to D-Dot. D-Dot, that was my second post on R. Kelly. My first post said there is no reason for anyone to try to make excuses for this behavior, period. My point with the second post was simply not wanting us to only focus on that issue. There are so many others we have to fight. I apologize if anyone thought I was apologizing for his behavior. That was not my intention. Well, I appreciate you clarifying that. But maybe you should have just stopped with the first post.
Yeah, we were offended.
Yeah,
I'm just
very
going to
much
say,
so.
as someone that is looked at as a leader and is giving resources and opportunities to be a leader in our community, like, that's unacceptable. I don't care what other issues are going on. If we're talking about this, we can talk about R. Kelly. We can talk about what's going on with the government shutdown. We can talk about all of these things all at the same time. We do not have to talk about one thing at a time. And where do we ever get an opportunity to talk about one thing at a time? So when black women and girls are being brought up and being addressed, then we don't want our leaders or those that look as leaders to be addressing situations in that case. It's not something that can be swept under the rug anymore. It's not something that we're going to accept the behavior for, and it's not something that's going to be okay. Like, just straight up.
And just like you said, when you're able to say, this is maybe what your intent was, but I think we have to say too, but it still bothered us.
Mm-hmm.
So
No,
being able
not
to
even that it
speak on
bothered
it.
us. That is a
It
problem.
was a
It's
problem.
not okay. It's not acceptable. Just don't do that.
Right, straight up. And so when you're able to speak about it and say something, and you're like, this is what I meant, like, but let me let you know I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. It's not okay. So and it's okay for us to say these, have these conversations.
And it's absolutely necessary.
Actually, and I want to just piggyback on that. When you said we have other issues to address, maybe you do, but this is a very important issue to us. We're black women. We have daughters, we have sisters, we have nieces. It's important to us. So you focus on all the other stuff that you may want to focus on, Mr. Roberts, and that's fine, because it's many of us. We can do many things at once. But don't tell us that we have other things to focus on when we're seeing our black woman traumatized. So that's you out of pocket, and you wrong for that. And I just got to tell you, you out of pocket. It's very offensive. It's wrong. You out of pocket, and you out of line. It's very offensive. And I was a little taken aback by that post. So like I said, maybe you should have just stuck with the first one and left the second one. Sometimes if some opinions are better left in your mind and not shared.
I agree.
Big facts from April. Big facts. Black women, girls' oppression is always suppressed, co-opted, minimized, and all lives matter. It's problematic. So true.
It is very problematic, and let's talk about that. Like, this is a moment, and this is not the only moment. Like, for me, I've been going back in my mind in a timeline. It's like there's been so many times where we felt, I have felt as someone that I call myself a leader and looked at as a leader by many. And so I feel the stress, I feel the oppression, I feel the always having to defend my position and to like assert my expertise and what I know to be true. Like, it's a constant. I feel like black women and girls always are questioned, and we always have to justify ourselves all the time. It's like you have to have this defense mechanism, right? And then we're looked at as like angry black women. Well, damn it, we can be angry. Like, it's okay, right? Okay. Like, if I'm angry today, then I'm angry today. I'm gonna allow me to go through my process. It's also important for us to grieve. You know, we have gone through a lot, and I definitely don't think that we grieve like we should, and I don't think that we get the support and the resources that we need in order to do that well. So we could talk about healing all day long, right? But if we don't address what's happening and what's at the root of the problem, then it's hard to get to like visioning and strategic and all these things that we need to do. So obviously, if this keeps coming up, we got to deal with it. It's no getting around it.
Black women for generations have been treated like we got to take a licking and keep on ticking. We never get time to heal our wounds. You know, we never get time to
when do we get a break?
Never. We never. We're supposed to always
just changing your cape. That's all you're doing. Let me wear this cape today. Let me wear this cape today.
That's all.
And then it's mass incarceration, a whole different thing. But let me wear this cape and this cape because you have to keep going. And when you talk about you need self-care, but then the fact that you feel guilty when taking self-care, when you know you have all these things on your plate. So when you just say take self-care, it's not that easy sometimes. And then I just wanted to add to what you said, Christy, when you know, I think the opposite of when women's needs are not met in R. Kelly's maybe like over here is temporary and he can cover these needs, and so then it becomes a part of life and then hard to get out of because it's some of the needs that are not met.
Right. We have a couple of comments. Lynn Moore says, so many times we are dismissed for other issues. That is not acceptable. Being dismissed by our own men is so tired. Yes, it is.
Very tired.
Stop it. How about you stand with black women and girls? And why don't you go address the brothers? We need that. Erica says, yes, quickest way to be accused of being an angry, bitter black woman is to vocally defend a black girl or woman. Yes, that is so true. That is true.
When you defend, you said all of a sudden, like,
when you defend you. When you defend you. She getting a hand. Here. Oh. Here it goes. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get these mics on. Here we go. Okay. That one. All right, y'all. Hope this is a little day. Church is having practice tonight, and we had to put the mics on.
Praise him,
right? Praise him all.
Let's talk about the church. What role does the church play in all of this? Because oftentimes we done heard the scandals, we've heard the stories, right? We hear the rumors there as well. But how do we see the church, the black church, to be specific, as an ally or a place that we need to address in this conversation?
That's good. Well, I see the church just as a building for me personally, so I don't really know how to answer that either. It's just a building when I need to get a certain part of my soul met, and I need some of that gospel music, or I need a good word, or I go to church. So is my mic not on? Yeah. So I don't know, but I think it plays a good. I think that plays a big part for those that go to church, because church has a responsibility to our community because they're prevalent in our community. So they need to hold people accountable as well, and they should be a resource to us and not a.
Wanting to be more aware because they are seeing more youth being exploited and are hearing about it. And so there are a number of churches who are seeking out outreach and presentations and stuff. And I've done one or two myself. And I just think that even if they're not requesting it, then to do the outreach to say, this is something that's going on in our communities. These are the numbers, and so would you like a presentation on that? Our services are free. So, but I know at a few events I've been at, pastors were interested because they were like, I didn't know it was happening in my congregation because we're not talking about it and they're not saying anything. And so how are we able to know? And so that's what I've talked about. Let's do some outreach there. Let's table there. Let's do some presentations.
And we have a comment that said the church must be itself a sanctuary and a safe place for survivors. I don't think the Black church is there yet. I don't think some of them. I don't think a lot of institutions are there. We tend to focus on the church, but Black people, we are pretty much any organized religion. We are prevalent in it. So we're in the mosque, we're in the center. We have some Black people that consider themselves Jewish. We have some Black people that but they're everywhere. So I think any religious simple people feel safe. They put your guard down. And I think that if Black people are in your organization, you all have a responsibility. All of them should be a safe place or a sanctuary, period.
Yeah, I agree, and they get a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh, come on now.
Let's just talk about finances that come up with that. I think that's one of the things that was highlighted in the Surviving R. Kelly documentary is that he not only had this celebrity, right? He had the money and the infrastructure. He was creating his own institutions to like create this unpenetratable, almost like you saw, like if it wasn't in the cards for you to talk to your child anymore because you're now part of his home, like you're out, right? And so how, like, you guys get a lot of money, and then I also think about in some other areas they're also looked at as a nonprofit, so they get grant money. Sometimes they get federal and local money, and so that money goes. That's our taxpayer money, and again, like we talk about law enforcement and all these things that we contribute to as taxpayers, we gotta be more like
hold the churches accountable. People get that money. I was going to say, I was trying to cut you off, but I didn't lose my thought. We have to hold them accountable. So when we out here picketing people downtown, we need to be in front of these churches. Can nobody else come up in here because y'all getting all this taxpayer money and our community's hurting? Y'all not holding up to help it. So our focus got to be on them. We got to hold them accountable as well. When we hold the legislative responsible or accountable, or we saying call this person or that, we got to call out the pastor to this church and this community. This happened in your community. Have you guys reached out? You have the funding for this, for your church, for this community. Have you done this yet? Call them out.
Yeah, and that's really
that might be easier said than done.
I really want us to address is that I need to start seeing some of these budgets. We need to start seeing who some of these donators are. We need to see who some of these folks that are sponsoring. Because a lot of times they're doing that work on our behalf, right? They talk about they do work with Black youth and they do all this great, awesome work. But we don't, where's the data, where's the numbers, how much money is being allocated, where's the accountability that is a part of that? And I think that also is an important part as we talk about what our children and what we need to make the improvements in our community. I agree.
Oh no, yeah, I thought you was there. So go ahead.
You have some more comments?
Yes, Tina says, I feel like the Black church as a whole is not going enough to bring awareness to the situation. Sometimes there's too much judgment being passed. It doesn't create a safe space for our young girls. I lost my place. Young girls. I agree that the church is definitely not there yet. There are kids being abused in the church and it gets covered up. Absolutely.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. I wanted to also say that I lost my thought, but also in regards to the Black churches, that a lot of Black women have actually left the Black church. I don't know if we talked about this exile of people, like one of the issues is like in some places you can't be in a leadership position. It's okay for you to be a volunteer, but you're not necessarily looked as a leader, and your expertise isn't like valued and being treated badly when you're in ministries and doing different things. And so there's been a very big exodus as well. And so when we think about that, it's really important for us to create spaces where we feel like we can be open and safe.
Yeah.
And I think that is something else that when we talk about what are the things that we need to do, what are the next steps, I definitely think that we need to start creating more safe spaces, like the maroon community that you're talking about. So talk about Sister Circle is one of those spaces that we create. Rolanda has her Queens evenings with Queens. Like there's so many different things that are going on, but how are we making sure that people that need that the most are in the room?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Like, how can we figure out ways, and Rolanda, it'd be really good to hear your feedback about how we can create these spaces so our Black girls can come and get the support, resources, and opportunities that they need to not only survive, but also thrive.
And Rolanda said, what can we do as Black women to assist healing our young girls and women? I know, so she just asked us the question. I think by creating these places that they just named, the Maroon Room, Sister Circle, creating those spaces and loving on the people in your immediate family.
Yes!
We talk like we have to go outside of our community. Talk to your nieces, your little sisters, your neighbors, the little girls on your block. Talk to your immediate family, because 9 times out of 10, one of them are a victim right now and we don't even know it. So talk to your
Because on the outside we can look good, but we're broken in the inside. So, like you said, it starts within your own family.
Yeah.
April's replying to Danielle's comment. She said, agreed, and also believe the patriarchy reigns supreme in the Black church. That mentality will continue to create barriers for Black women. Danielle said, we also got to reflect on our theology that contribute to rape culture. This rush to forgiveness and prioritizing cheap grace over accountability and justice. Well, they sometimes religious concepts are misused to ignore or support injustice. And D-Dot said, it's one thing to create a safe place, but we have to get them there. Amen. That is so true.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What I was going to say, I think the thing somebody just built, I think programs are great. We have been in programs for today and that's all the different kind of programs, welfare programs, WIC program, people in the pain program. We've always had programs. But I feel like the immediate thing we can do is create that space wherever we go. When I see a Black woman, I should see refuge. I should see somebody who loves me. That's why I smile at other people. I speak to people. I think we have to do what we, even in slavery, when we were oppressed the most, we still had a way with our body language and how we looked at each other. We always had a way of loving on each other, even when we couldn't necessarily give each other a hug. Maybe that was not permitted for us to show emotion. But we always had a way of doing that. And I think that the magic bullet, or if there is a magic, is how we treat each other, how we see each other, how we love with each other, how we use our words. Do we say to somebody, you fast, you this, or somebody's developing, do we make them feel ashamed? Or do we, wow, girl, you got it going on. Let me help you with that. But we got to do that because that's what culture means.
Absolutely.
Culture is not a program. Culture is how you live your life, how you cook, how
Culture's
you
not
dance,
constant.
how you love, how you walk, how you wear your hair.
Come on.
How you embrace people. You give your pound with your shape. All of that is culture.
Yep.
And we have to create a culture that makes Black girls and women feel loved because they are the most precious thing we have.
Amen.
Yeah.
So without women, you can't have people. You can't.
At all.
The planet, guess what? No more are coming. That's it. It's over. Game, we're done. So we have to
Women are everything.
and that will expose the art kelly. So they will have nowhere to go.
No refuge.
Yeah, so that's
nowhere to hide.
Yep.
Black women, and somebody asked me once, I think complicit in helping that culture. What do we do? What did you do if you're a woman out there and you've been helping somebody, with their abusive behavior? And the violence against women, whether it's verbal or spiritual, what do you do? How do you break that cycle in yourself? It's like, I'm not contributing to that anymore. I'm not showing up for this idiot or her.
that's right.
And I don't even know if it's an answer to that. You know what I mean? I don't even know. That's. We have a question. Oh, I don't even know if it's an answer to that long. That's a good question. I'm gonna read one of the comments. D-Dot says communication, uplift, invite, and relate.
Yes.
That's good. Agree, Rolanda. It starts with us. Yeah, that's what we said. You got to start to the women that we know. You got to start to our immediate. Just like Londa said, a black woman should see you and see refuge, see myself. You know, my sister's keeper. I should see Christy and know I can come to Christy with anything. And I can lay it all out. I will too. Without judgment, I can lay it all out. I should be able to go to anybody, even sit in here and lay it all out without judgment. And I agree. We're lacking that. And that's why so much secrecy and R. Kelly's of the community are able to get away with what they get away with for so long, because we don't feel like we have any refuge even amongst ourselves. It is good that we're doing this topic. I hope it doesn't end here.
It will not end here. It didn't start here.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Everybody on this panel works in that community and works with it. So, but I want the other people just to be as continue fired up and on the lookout and counter and proactive in calling and recognizing these things right now. I hope it stays fire in your soul, because our girls are being victimized and women daily.
Right.
Daily.
So there's something that's going on tonight that we'd like to talk about, and then I'd also like for you to talk more about the sex trafficking awareness today, and that's being today, but also the month, and then if there's other things coming up this month, and then what's happening tonight.
Okay.
So like I said, this is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Today is Human Trafficking Awareness Day. Wearing blue today again for solidarity for survivors. Tonight at Boss Church, they're doing an outreach to shed light on places of dark places. So tonight you will bring a flashlight, and we're doing an outreach at a hotel. Hasn't been determined yet. We'll meet at 9. The outreach is at 11 o'clock p.m. tonight. And
because that's where the people are.
Right, and that's where the people are.
Affected.
And so we wanted to do a silent protest, which is shedding light in places of darkness. So for 30 minutes, it's just turning on your flashlight. And it's our hope that maybe people will walk out of those hotels and knowing that they're going to get a hug and not feeling judged. In preparation for this, we were talking about people not wanting to come to churches because they feel judged. So us having those conversations and being real. We had a survivor who's leading this and helping us in this fight tonight, and telling us how her journey has been in not wanting to come to churches, but now she has been able to find a church in other areas, and even now feeling loved in Sacramento, to know that I can share my story and not feel judged. And her goal is to get 500 plus people out tonight, and hearing from the community, what else can we do to stop sex trafficking in this community, in this world, and little things we can do. Educate your families, be a part of the call to actions, be a part of supporting Zatoya Brown, and I know she has clemency, but what can we do? The people we've supported through our clients have been those who have been incarcerated, but after needing that support, because they could be a victim of the things that R. Kelly has been doing. When you get out of the system, how do you survive in this world? So being able to support people when they have their anniversaries. One of my staff members today celebrated her anniversary of being out of the life, and she just really helped me and helped me to understand that celebrating anniversaries and celebrating people's accomplishments is huge. It could be one day, it could be 1 year, but to know that we're celebrating our life, because it matters, and to celebrate our walk and our struggles and our challenges, we can celebrate our victories, and that's important. Throughout the month, we will have things on their website that we're doing. We don't have any particular showings that are going on for films. A number of agencies are going to be hosting films, but you can check some things out on our site.
We'll attach the website to this. I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. And but throughout the community, My Sister's House, Cash, these are local organizations who are doing things throughout this month. And so with that, what you can do is really talk to your family members, educate them. Go to our page. We offer free services. If they are wanting to talk to someone, not their family, we have a confidential support line number, 916-920-2952. We'll add that to the page. But sometimes you want to talk, but you don't want to talk in your immediate family. We offer services, and it's all confidential. We're the only rape crisis center in Sacramento.
And I also wanted to just highlight that there is something along the lines with the work that you're doing at Weave. And I will say personally that I know as someone that has been on their staff for the last couple of years, as unapologetically a Black woman, you have done a lot of work going to, you know, all type of different community meetings to make sure that Black folks know that they can go to Weave, and if they didn't think that they could go to Weave, they can go to Weave, right? And so that has been something that has been awesome, and so I thank you for your work and your service. And there's also other people that are doing really, really good work. We also have the Black Child Legacy program here in Sacramento. That is something that is happening here that I definitely think that is making a very huge impact. So there is wonderful and good things going on. And like Rolanda said, we have so many programs, right? But we just need to make sure that the people that really need those resources and those opportunities and that information and that education and that awareness, that they need to be in that room. And we know that there's a need, we know the problems. And then I also heard us say, because we're going to be concluding momentarily, is that we need to talk to our family members. Somebody, or Nike, she's actually part of the, Mute R. Kelly movement. She started that in Atlanta. I know her personally. I actually traveled to Senegal with her about 8 years ago. She started that movement because she saw a problem. She works in the entertainment industry, and she said, this is not acceptable. And so when we say things and we have come to the conclusion that things are unacceptable, we have to do something about it. Several years ago, there was an assault of a Black woman at Mix. And we said, no, like, it's not okay for you to put your hands on Black women. And so we called them out. We met with them. We made some demands, and they actually met our demands. Now, I still don't go to that establishment, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we put things in place so that not only do we not have those same experiences again, but other people don't have those experiences. So there are things that we can do. There are great opportunities and things. I think we need to have our eyes wide open. And also be very clear about what's going on with your children. One of the things that someone else said that I thought was really funny, do you know how many penis pictures or naked pictures your daughter or your son have on their cell phone? Do you know the apps and the things that they're participating in? So it's like you think that you know what's going on, but do you really know what's going on? And so just paying attention, like, it's not okay for us to walk around with our eyes wide shut. It's not okay for us not to be like to say something and call out behavior that is not okay for us. And we know it's not okay. It's okay for you to, protect your family and yourself, but then, it's okay if it's happening to somebody else, but we know that's not okay because that affects you as well. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and I think there's a lot of great work that a lot of us do, but we got to continue this fight, and I'm glad that we've had this moment to address this because this is something that needed to happen, and hopefully we'll see something good come out of it. For me, Centoya Brown getting clemency Monday after watching this 3-night documentary was so wonderful. But we also know that she got clemency because people spoke up, they put in action. And a lot of people did that. They want to attribute it to some stars or whatever. No, a lot of people, normal people, made sure that people came and said something about this situation. And that is why Centoya Brown got clemency. And I want to make sure that we spread that narrative because we often think somebody else did something for us. But whenever we've gotten anything, anytime that we've been in this country alone, we got it because we fought for ourselves.
Before we move on, I'm going to read a couple of these comments, y'all, because we got quite a bit really quick. And then I'm going to add one more. Yeah, well, go ahead. Because it's quite a bit. Okay. So before you forget your thought.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, too, we just started the Emotional Emancipation Circle at Weave. Gail Guest Brown is the facilitator along with Nicole. And so this is going to be an 8-week series. And so it's every other Tuesday, but our next one is next Tuesday at Weave. And it will be at 6 p.m. Food is included, free, and it's a good time. I went to our kickoff last week. If you didn't make it last week, you can come at any time. Whatever your schedule works for you, we would love to have you, and it's an amazing time.
A couple of comments we have. Stacy says, we all came together as a community to make a commitment to reduce Black child deaths. What does the same commitment look like for Black women and girls?
That's right. That's the question.
Great question. I think a lot of what we've been talking about,
yep.
Being available, making yourself accessible. You know, knowing that you're a refuge for your sister. I think that's where it starts. And I think the dialogue like we're having, and young girls seeing this and seeing 3 black women sitting up here all looking very different, probably all thinking different, but we all get along and we dialogue and we know we have a general problem that affects all of us. So I think this is a start. Guys, have anything for recent comments? No? Okay. Benicia James says, but every church isn't unhealthy. Shoot, the church is my saving grace, and I'm a black secure woman. We have to be careful about, we have to be careful about, sorry guys, my phone is really, we have to be careful about easily putting the church in one category as if every church is unhealthy. In fact, I encourage it. I agree.
Well, I agree with that also, but if that's your experience in your church, then that's great. Share that, but that doesn't take away from the point that we're making. Like, I think we always want to absolve people. Okay, great. I'm so happy that your church is that for you, but we know that many have not had that experience, and more people would love to come to your church. So definitely put your church in the comments, so that we can support churches like that. We want to support churches and programs and people that are doing great things. It infuriates me that we put so much time and energy in negativity and we don't highlight the positive and the wonderful things that are going on, and the young people that are doing so many great and wonderful things. Like, we definitely want to promote that, but it doesn't take away. At the moment, we're talking about some of the problems.
Yeah. It happens in a lot of our churches.
When you go to the next, I want to say, somebody told me something once about church, that the church is not a museum thing, but a house.
There you go.
I think sometimes we forget that when we talk about church. It's not a place for perfect people.
Right. It's a hospital.
So it doesn't, we know that the church does a lot of awesome stuff because it's been a saving grace for the black folks who've been in here. So everything has its pluses and minuses, but I think most of us know that. I heard someone say, so remember that a church is not a museum for saints, but a hospital for sinners.
Yeah, that's real tough. Stacy, thank you for tuning in. She said, thank you, ladies, for your leadership on this issue. I got to run and pick up my baby. Be safe. Venetia says, Stacy. Yeah, Venetia says, I would say it just comes down to our choices, the churches that we choose to attend. That's a big problem. I agree. Tanya is replying to Venetia, not saying every church is unhealthy, but too many are. We need to be real about it. April says, Christy, you are so right. This conversation must move to our young women and girls. My daughter is 10, and we have these conversations. I started talking to her when she was 5 years old. Yep. Venetia says, however, you guys do make valid points, and I commend each of you for the work that you do in the community. But as a believer, I'm just saying, being a Christian has made me stronger in many ways. My mother was a God-fearing Christian woman, so I do know that there is good in some churches, but I know it's bad too. But Venetia, I hear you. I mean, I believe you are a very strong Christian woman. Michelle says, thank you for putting this together, such an open and organic conversation. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you, and this will definitely continue. Make sure that you look up Rolanda. Is it Rolanda Allah Wilkins on YouTube? On YouTube, Rolanda?
This is Rolanda Allah Wilkins on top. And thank you. Y'all did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. The three of you hold it down. And we got to keep the conversation going. This cannot be a moment. There's got to be a movement.
That's right.
Thank you, Rolanda, for tuning in. I felt like you were here.
Right? Yes, and we'll see you when you get back. And thank you all for tuning in today. Again, if you are not a member of the Sacramento Sister Circle and a black woman over the age of 18, please make sure you add the Sacramento Sister Circle. We're going to go ahead and if you could add your hotline to Visa.
I already did.
Oh, you did?
Okay.
So all the resources that we're talked about today, we're going to make sure that they're posted on this thread. And we really appreciate everybody. And thank you guys for joining me, because when I was like, "Can you do it?" I'm like,
yeah, she did. She did her thing. My thing is, I just want us to continue to heal, and just know that it's not going to take one day. This is something collectively we're doing, and I just it's an honor to be here today and just to work. Not just for this day, but for this movement, and it's an amazing time to be collectively a part of this with you ladies.
Thank you. Yeah, my closing remarks would just be go love on your daughter, go talk to your daughter, love on your son, your daughter. I say daughters, nieces, aunts, any woman in your life, but love on your son too, because we need some men to marry these girls that we nurture. So while we giving them love and attention, give some to a boy, too. A male, because we need some men they need some love and nurturing too, and we need some men for these women that we're preparing for this world. So
Yeah,
talk to your daughter.
Yeah, if everybody did something, I think we would be further along. So thank you all for tuning in. And then the last thing that we'll do is again talk about the action that's happening here in Sacramento, what time to be there, and all the details.
Yes, so tonight at 9 p.m., bring your flashlights. That's all you need. Positive attitude and ready for action. Go to Boss Church. If one of you can look up the address for me real quick. But at Boss Church at 9 p.m., it is off of 47th Street. And it is a time for information, for safety planning. And at 11 p.m., we will go to where that hotel is, and it will be revealed tonight while we're at the informational. And for 30 minutes from 11 to 11:30, we will shine light on a dark place. So if you can come out, it's not too late. It's not too late.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you. Be safe, everybody. Rolanda, be safe. Talk to you later, sissy.
Get my hoagie.
Get Dottie hoagie, she said. That's to everybody, though, just so you know.